Hi everyone, myself Dr. Balaji Biradar. Today's topic for our lecture is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So we will be discussing the COPD under the topics of first is definition, risk factors or causative agents, then pathophysiology, diagnosis, and then finally treatment. So what is COPD? It's a common, preventable and treatable disease that is characterized by persistent respiratory symptoms and airflow limitation that is due to airway and or alveolar abnormalities usually caused by significant exposure to noxious particles or gases. So coming to the risk factors, first is tobacco smoke. Across the world, cigarette smoking is the most commonly encountered risk factor for the COPD. So cigarette smokers have higher prevalence of respiratory symptoms and lung function abnormality. So it's most common risk factor for developing COPD. Next is indoor air pollution, usually seen in uh, developing countries. So burning of wood and other biomass fuels used for cooking and heating in poorly vented dwellings. Is outdoor air pollution, though it contributes to the lungs total burden of inhaled particle, but it appears to have a relatively small effect in causing COPD. Occupational exposures like organic and inorganic dust, chemical agents, and fumes, which also contributes to the risk factors of COPD. Genetic factors like alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, defect in gene encoding matrix metalloproteinase 12, glutathione S transferase are associated with decline in lung function or as a risk factor for COPD. Other genetic loci including alpha-nicotinic receptor, acetylcholine receptor, hedgehog interacting protein have been associated with COPD. Aging is one of the causes for COPD. Women, especially in developed countries, are at high risk factor for COPD, probably changing pattern of smoking. Lung growth and development. There are factors that affects lung growth during gestation and childhood. Includes low birth weight, recurrent respiratory tract infection, has the potential to increase an individual risk for developing COPD. A lower socio-economic status is mostly associated with developing COPD. Then asthma and airway hyperreactivity, like chronic persistent asthma and recurrent airway hyperreactivity causes COPD. In chronic bronchitis, there has been observation between mucus hypersecretion and increased FE1 decline, especially in the younger adults who smokes. And there are severe exacerbation and the recurrent exacerbation seen in chronic bronchitis patients. Coming to the infections, severe childhood infection usually causes decline in the lung function, and other causes of infections like tuberculosis and HIV are the risk factors for COPD. Now we know the risk factors for COPD like tobacco smoke and air pollution, which causes continued bronchial irritation and inflammation and breakdown of elastin in connective tissue of lungs. Continued bronchial irritation and inflammation leads to chronic bronchitis, which ultimately leads to bronchial edema, hypersecretions of mucus, chronic cough, and bronchospasms. Breakdown of elastin in lungs causes emphysema, that is due to destruction of the alveolar septa and airway instability. Both chronic bronchitis and emphysema leads to airway destruction, air trapping, and ultimately the patient gets dyspneic and frequent infections, which ultimately leads to abnormal VP ratio or ventilation perfusion ratio, leading to hypoxia, hypoventilation, pulmonary hypertension, and cor-pulmonale. Coming to the diagnosis of COPD, COPD should be considered in any patient who has dyspnea, chronic cough or sputum production, and or a history of exposure to risk factor for the disease. Patient has typical progressive and persistent dyspnea, which characteristically worsen with the exercise. Chronic cough, chronic sputum production, and patient may have recurrent lower respiratory tract infection, and also get the history of risk factors as we previously discussed regarding host factors, tobacco smoke, or any occupational dust, vapors, fumes, gases, and other chemical exposure. Get the family history of COPD and or childhood factors like low birth weight, recurrent respiratory tract infection, etc. In severe COPD, additional features like fatigue, weight loss, and anorexia has also been seen. Then coming to physical examination, it is rarely diagnostic in COPD patients. Spirometry plays a role in diagnosis, assessment of severity of airflow obstruction, which is a prognostication factor, and follow-up assessment. On right side of the screen, you can see the normal spirometry in which FE1 is 4 liter and FEC is 5 liters. The ratio of FE1 and FEC is 0.8, which is normal for an healthy individual. On left side of the screen, you can see there is decline in FE1 and FEC. Ultimately, the ratio is reduced, which signifies obstructive airway disease. Based on post-bronchodilator FE1, COPD has been classified into GOLD categories like GOLD 1, 2, 3 and 4. GOLD 1 is mild, in which FE1 is more than or equal to 80% of predicted. GOLD 2 is moderate, in which FE1 is more than 50% was less than 80% of the predicted value. In severe, it's more than 30% but less than 50% of predicted. In very severe, FE1 is less than 30% of the predicted value. Imaging like chest X-ray and CT scan are valuable in excluding alternate diagnosis. Lung volumes and diffusing capacity. COPD patients exhibit gas trapping from the early stages of the disease, and as airflow limitation worsens, static hyperinflation occurs. These changes can be well documented by body plethysmography or less accurately by helium dilution lung volume measurement. Measurement of DLCO provides information on the functional impact of emphysema in COPD patients and is often helpful in patients with breathless that may seem out of proportion to the degree of airflow limitation. Pulse oximeter and arterial blood gas measurement helpful in knowing oxygenation of the arterial oxygenation. Exercise testing and assessment of physical activity like 6-minute walk test, pace shuttle walk test measures exercise impairment, indicator of health status impairment and predictor of prognosis. Composite scores. There are several variables which identify patient as high risk of mortality, which includes FE1, exercise tolerance, which is assessed by walking distance or peak oxygen consumption, weight loss, reduction in arterial oxygen tension. Such a composite score, which is called BORD, which combines body mass index, airway obstruction, dyspnea, and exercise. This method gives a composite score that is better predictor of subsequent survival than any single component. Always consider differential diagnosis of COPD like asthma, congestive heart failure, bronchiectasis, tuberculosis, obliterative bronchiolitis, or panbronchiolitis. Coming to the treatment, which includes pharmacological and non-pharmacological treatment. Now coming to the pharmacological treatment, which includes bronchodilators. Bronchodilators include beta-2 agonist and anticholinergics. In beta-2 agonist, there is short-acting beta-2 agonist or SABA and long-acting beta-2 agonist or LABA. In short-acting beta-2 agonist, most commonly used are leosalbutamol, salbutamol, and terbutaline. These are called short-acting beta-2 agonist because their duration of action is lesser than the long-acting beta-2 agonist, which is 4 to 6 hours or 6 to 8 hours. Then long-acting beta-2 agonist, which are formoterol or formoterol and salmeterol. These drugs have duration of action is around 12 hours. Then there are some ultra long-acting beta-2 agonists, which are indacaterol and oledaterol. Then coming to anticholinergic agents, which include short-acting muscarinic agents or SAMA, long-acting muscarinic agents or LAMA. Again, these are called short acting because their duration of action is lesser, which includes ipratropium bromide, oxytropium bromide. Then LAMA, which includes aclidinium bromide, glycopyrronium, which has 12 hours of action. Then tiotropium and glycopyrronium bromide and revafenacin, which are ultra long acting anticholinergic agents which has 24 hours of action. Other pharmacological agents like methylxanthines, which includes aminophylline, theophylline, then phosphodiesterase 4 inhibitors, which includes roflumilast, mucolytic agents like iridostine, carbocystine, and N-acetylcysteine. Non-pharmacological treatment includes smoking cessation, which has the greatest capacity to influence the natural history of COPD. Smoking cessation can be done by abstinence of smoking and other things like nicotine replacement products such as nicotine gum, nicotine inhaler, nicotine sprays, transdermal patch, sublingual tablets or lozenges are available. The pharmacological products which are helpful for smoking cessation are vernicillin, bupropion and nortriptyline, as have been shown to increase long-term quit rates. Vaccination includes influenza vaccination and pneumococcal vaccination. Influenza vaccination reduces serious illness and death in COPD patient, and it has to be given yearly in patients with COPD or any chronic diseases. Pneumococcal vaccine includes 23-valent pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine and conjugated 13-valent conjugated pneumococcal vaccine. This has to be given every 5th yearly, and it has been shown to reduce the incidence of community-acquired pneumonia, has demonstrated significant efficacy in reducing bacteremia and serious invasive pneumococcal diseases. Thank you.